Welcome everybody to a special Front Range live recording with professional ultrarunner and 3-time Hard Rock winner Darcy Piceu, recorded with the Boulder Hiker Chicks at the Go Far shop in Boulder, Colorado. Note to listeners who love their Bobo bars like we do, get 30% off your next online order when you use promo code DISPATCH, all lowercase.
I'm oftentimes towing the line with mostly women who run for a living and aren't moms and don't have full-time jobs. So it's really intimidating. And they're 20 years younger than I am now. Okay, so we're rolling, Russ. Hi, welcome to Dispatch Radio. Thanks so much for being here. We're at the Go Far shop in Boulder, Colorado on Pearl Street. And we're here with Kate, the owner of the shop. She's going to tell us a little bit about the shop and what's going on here right now.
Hey guys, thanks so much for coming in. I really appreciate it. Hope you all had fun on the hike this morning. A little bit about Go Far. We've been open just a little over a year. So this is me and my business partner's store. And the really goal of Go Far was to create a place that was inclusive, centered around single day adventures. So whether you run, hike, ski, what have you, we want to be the place for you to come and feel inspired or connect with people here.
Yeah, these guys have, as you can see, awesome apparel here. It's really fun. So we did a special event today and joined the local women's hiking group, the Boulder Hiker Chicks, for what they cleverly called the urban hike on the Boulder Bike Path before welcoming them here to the Go Far store for this special podcast with Darcy Piceu. So she was named third, the best ultra runner, right? Top ultra runner by Ultra Running Magazine. Woohoo! 2 days ago? Yeah. So that's awesome. She won 400-mile races, all of different terrain. So that's pretty awesome. And we're going to hear more about that coming up. So I am going to briefly speak to Kari and Alli, and I know most of you here in the audience know Kari and Alli really well, but just for people who are listening, they're going to tell us a little bit about the Boulder Hiker Chicks. So here's Alli and Kari.
Hi. Yeah, so I'm Alli.
I'm Kari.
And we are the co-founders of Boulder Hiker Chicks. We started the group about 5 years ago. This year is actually our 5th anniversary. It began very organically, where Kari and I just started hiking together and inviting friends and neighbors to join us. And here we are, where we have, an online community of thousands and hundreds locally who hike with us regularly. So it's pretty amazing.
All of our hikes, other than our 2 largest hikes, are all free. But because we've had so much interest, we use Eventbrite to kind of limit to 25 spots.
So you get with local regulations.
As you probably know, Kari and Alli, I met them, I don't know, maybe 7 years ago. My son was in their girls' class. And so I was with them when they started this, and it went from like 7 people to now so many people, and so much work goes into it. And all their hikes are amazing. We really thank you guys for being here. And we're going to hear from Darcy real soon. I just want to thank our sponsors. Particularly, I want to thank Sara, Groem from Open Door Realty. Thanks so much. We couldn't have done this without you. And can we just hear from you briefly about your business?
Sure. Hi, Sara Groem. I'm a co-owner of Open Door Real Estate with my husband, and we're a small local real estate brokerage in Boulder. And we also service the rest of the Front Range. But I'm really excited to be here because I love supporting other women and investing in other women. I know being a working mom and also owner of a company, it takes a lot to, invest in our family and our career, but then also you just need to invest in yourself. So I'm so happy to help support this event. And thank you, Kelly, for getting us involved in this, because Kelly's a really great friend of ours. And I love supporting this. And you're just an awesome woman. So thank you.
Thank you, Sara. I really highly recommend them. They helped us find our house in Chautauqua, and it was just seamless, and they pay extra detail, and they keep sending flowers and parties even 2 years after you buy or sell your house. So it's definitely worth using them. And then next, I just really want to thank Bobo Bar. Thank you so much for coming. They're here today. Woohoo! They provided us with a bunch of Bobo Bars. They're made in Boulder. They're here in Boulder. They're gluten-free, non-GMO, vegan. Darcy and I eat them for breakfast and on ultra runs. And it just gives you, as you know, oats, a long-lasting energy. So it's a great thing for your kids and to just have them in your pocket. Now they have these like bite-sized ones and bars. So really awesome that they're here. Thank you so much. Oh, yes, the dispatch code. So you can go online and get, 30% off if you order some boba bars online, and the code is dispatch. Okay, that's the promo code for 30% off. So take advantage of that. I want to thank Upslope. We've been drinking Upslope since the beginning, and we are drinking beer mosas, which is orange juice mixed in beer, and it sounded really disgusting, but it's actually really good. So we have a bunch of beer mosas up here, and I'd like to thank Hunter Bay Coffee for providing coffee. And then I also want to hear from Women's Wilderness is here today. She's going to tell us, Marina's going to tell us a little bit about Women's Wilderness. We're raising money for them. They're an awesome company, and here she is.
Thank you all for allowing me to join this morning. My name is Marina Fleming. I'm the program director at Women's Wilderness. We're a local nonprofit here in Boulder. We've been around for 20 years, and we're very fortunate to be unleashing our new branding today. So this is a fun event to be doing that. Women's Wilderness works to grow the courage, confidence, and community of girls, women, and the LGBTQ community. We are doing that through summer programming, so 8 to 18-year-olds can go on day camps, they can go on overnight camps, backpacking, rock climbing, or a combination of the two. Spring and fall, we host women's climbing programs, and we also do a 3-day mountain retreat for women in Allens Park, which is pretty tremendous. And then we're also doing wilderness-based skills. We have meetups, and we are so grateful to be in this community of women who are doing such strong things together with each other, and then using this as a catalyst to go do all the other big things that I'm sure this community is doing. So thank you all, and feel free to grab me in the back if you want to learn more about ways to get involved with Women's Wilderness.
Yay, now we're going to talk to Darcy, what we're all here for. So thanks for coming, Darcy. Darcy and I talked a little bit before we did this podcast. We're going to talk a little bit about how to balance work and play and her own personal business. She also has a daughter. So Darcy, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself before we start?
Sure. So my name is Darcy Piceu. I am first and foremost a mom to my 10-year-old daughter. And then I'm also a psychotherapist. I have a private practice in town. I work with young adults. I work with adolescents and adults as well. I've been in that profession for probably 18, 19 years now. So almost as long as I've been ultra running as well. So I've been ultra running for now professionally and racing for 18 years now. And still going strong. So it's been a long, wonderful career. And I think that when I'm thinking back, I was an Outward Bound instructor way back in the day. And so having Women's Wilderness here is a fun thing to be a part of. And so thank you for having me a part of your group today.
I didn't know you were an Outward Bound instructor.
I was.
That kind of explains a lot why she can spend so much time in the woods and be so comfortable. So, Darcy, could you give us a snapshot of your background in running? Most people who are strong runners, as Darcy, have a pretty strong background in college as collegiate runners. And I just find her story interesting. And then tell us also a little bit about your first race I love that story. Could you tell that story after you tell us about
Which one?
The one in Breck that you did?
Oh, okay, yes. So I wasn't a runner growing up. I grew up in Michigan as well, swimming, playing tennis, skiing, those types of things. Skiing is what really brought me to Colorado. And running didn't come until later, much later in my life. Actually, I was living abroad in New Zealand, and it just became a way for me to start getting in shape, actually. And it was a really easy thing to do for me. It's just, getting your running shoes on, and I could walk out the door and get some exercise. And I also love to travel. And so when I was traveling, when I was younger in my 20s, running was kind of a way for me to see these places that I was traveling to. So, I didn't really get into racing and ultra running until it was late 90s. Well, no, early 2000s. And my first race experience was the Breckenridge Crest Mountain Marathon. And it's a marathon, so 26.2 miles through, it runs up to the Continental Divide. I don't know if all know, like the Burro Trail that goes up to the Continental Divide, runs the divide and comes back down along the Peaks Trail. And it was just this beautiful race, beautiful course. I remember cresting one of the passes, and there was like a guy in the distance on a fiddler who was playing. It was echoing throughout the mountains, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." So that race really like sparked joy for me in that sense, and just fell in love with the sport from there. And I think the story that you were talking about was related to, I was running in first or second the majority of the race. This was my first race. I think I knew. I think I had a sense that I was doing really well. And then in the last 6 miles on the Peaks Trail in Breckenridge, I got passed by the first woman, and I was so mad. So I've always been very competitive. I should just say that as well. So I got passed and finished the race, and I was obviously very exhausted. And then my friend came up to me and said, "Do you know who that was?" And I was like, "No, I don't care who that was." And he was like, "That was Melody Fairchild. She was like, all-American cross-country star in college." And at the time, I really didn't know much about running or that community. So, but I guess early on, I knew that I had a shot. I had a shot at doing well in the sport.
So did you go from that marathon? What race did you do next? How did you get into running hundreds? Because I know hundreds your favorite length of a race now. So could you tell us just how you built up to that, and then why did the 100 sort of land as your favorite race?
Yeah, well, hundreds didn't come until later, for sure, for me. I feel like it took me 7 years before I actually felt like I could really race 100 miles. And I built up to that. I built up by doing marathons and then 50Ks and then 50 milers and then 100Ks and then 100-mile distance. And typically my seasons would be sort of the thing where I would race myself into shape. So again, I would, early in the season, I would do, shorter for me would be, marathon 50K distance, and then 50 mile, 100K, and I would race myself into 100-mile shape. And I know this is all relative to whatever you might be doing. So, if it was a marathon, it would be, 5K, 10K, racing yourself into that kind of shape. So, I guess it's not until the last probably maybe, I don't know when 100 milers became sort of my favorite distance, but it's probably been within the last 6 years where I really realized that was kind of my jam. And I'm not sure, it could just be getting older and losing fast twitch muscles. I'm not sure, but, or, just being a little bit, I don't know, I guess getting older and wiser and realizing that I could do a lot more than I thought I could and pushing through things that maybe I didn't think I could push through before.
Did you find that you did really well at the longer endurance runs, or did you do sort of just as well at the other runs?
Yeah, I think initially I did really well in shorter distances, shorter meaning, 50-mile distances. So I did really well in those distances initially. My first 100-miler was the Leadville 100, which is, right in our backyard. So, but it was a total sufferfest for me the first time I ever ran a 100-miler. And that was in 2001, I think. And it was incredibly painful and lots of suffering involved. So again, it didn't just all of a sudden, I didn't run my first 100 and go, oh, that was great and easy. It wasn't like that for me.
So what is it? We're going to talk a little bit more about pain and suffering in a little bit, but so we'll get back to that because I know you guys are dying to know how she gets through that, right? I really want to know what it takes now. We talked a little bit about, you build up to these things and years of running. Is it muscle memory? Is it mental training? What do you think now in your training? What do you do? Like, what does that look like now with all this background in running built up over the years?
Mm-hmm. I think, some of it's muscle memory. You and I talked a little bit about that and that, now I know that, I could go run a 100-miler tomorrow and I might not be in the best shape of my life, but I can do it. Because I know that now I have that kind of muscle memory, but because so much of it really is mental, and yet I do work really hard, and I try to get out every day, and I try to do something every day. So it takes a lot of work and a lot of dedication and a lot of patience. So I don't know. Did I kind of answer your question?
What's your everyday? What is your daily run or once a week long run? What would that be? Just to give us an idea.
It varies so much. I mean, the wintertime looks a lot different than it does when I'm like really ramping up in the springtime for, summer races and things like that. But, right now, probably running an hour or more every day. Well, probably not more, probably an hour a day. And then sometimes I have one midweek long run. And then ideally on the weekends, if I can, I'll do a longer meaning 4 hours. But that doesn't happen very often in the wintertime, admittedly. I spent a little bit more time skiing and cross training in the winter. I love skinning uphill. I love telemark skiing and doing all of those kinds of things in the winter. But I guess, as I start to ramp up for the summer, it looks a little bit more like long runs on the weekend, one midweek long run, and then just sort of maintaining all the other days. So you do a
couple, when you're actually training for something, you do a couple longer runs?
Usually, yeah, if I can. I can.
Yeah. Where do rest days fit into that? Because it sounds to me, I'm a casual runner and I'm more of a daily hiker, but I'm always worried about injury and, balancing that all out and rest days and not wanting to ever overdo something or ramp up too quickly. So what are your rest days? Are they active recovery days or how does that all work?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I would say typically, if I were looking at a weekly calendar, Mondays would usually be, if there's a rest day, it would be on Monday. That would mean that I would have been able to get a long run in on the weekends, which doesn't always happen. But typically, if I have a rest day, it comes after maybe a day or two of long runs back to back. Because for 100-milers, sometimes you're doing long back-to-back days. So you're training your body to run on tired legs. So Saturday I might run a long, I don't do this very often anymore, but, maybe you have a 5-hour run on Saturday and then a 3-hour run on Sunday. So you're training Sunday on tired legs and then Monday would be completely off. But I don't know if you'd call, rolling, doing maybe some light yoga. That might be a recovery day. Yeah. And I do, I really pay attention to when I'm tired, when I'm not feeling it, I don't push it. Yeah.
So as I was saying earlier, Darcy won 4 100-mile races last year of all different terrain. And I know we usually don't like to say our age, but how old are you, Darcy? Because, this is really important, I think.
Well, I'm
This is amazing.
43 today,
Yes,
but I will be 44 on Sunday. So
Happy birthday.
thanks. And happy birthday to
So
you
we're
too.
about the same age. It's just amazing that you, at your age, did 400-mile races and won them. And are you like just not prone to injury? Because that was actually a really good question about the race days. Some people just are not very prone to injury.
Yeah, I mean, I've been so fortunate, and I know that. I mean, over the years, I've really been fortunate to not have a ton of injury. That's not to say, I mean, I've definitely had certain things that I've had to deal with. I had plantar fasciitis once that really shut me down for a little while. Achilles tendonitis that was really hard to get through. But I would say that's minor in the grand scheme of things. And again, you know, I've been really lucky. And I feel like most of the things that I have had and do have currently I kind of know in the back of my head I can work through this, and I think that's part of it, is just knowing like, okay, I have some niggles, I have some pain here, but you know, I'll go to a PT or do something and figure out, okay, how do I strengthen some of my weaknesses and how do I, you know, work with this. So I try not to let pain sort of dictate what I do or don't do, if that makes sense. So I run through pain a lot. And I'm not saying that's like what everyone should do, but I do.
But you know what is okay for your body, and you've learned what's okay and what's not okay. Yeah. So you've been running for a really long time. Do you ever get bored of this? Do you ever get bored of your training? How do you work through that? How do you stay motivated?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this time of year is the hardest, truly. I mean, motivation levels it's just hard. Sometimes it's just hard to get out the door. So, you know, how do I get through it? Right now, I'm actually trying to switch things up. Like, I've signed up for more classes than I normally do. I'm going to I went to the Alpine Training Center recently a couple times to do some interval training. You know, I signed up. Revo Physical Therapy in town has like a $79 unlimited pass right now, and so I signed up for that, and just trying to switch it up. And similar to like having this community that you all have here, like my motivation sometimes is like just meeting friends out and going for a run with friends because they're kind of holding me accountable. So that really helps me. You know, some days if I really need some help, I'll put in headphones and crank music, different things like that.
How does that translate into what you do in the rest of your life as far as staying motivated? Do you have anything to say about that?
I think it's just kind of that. I'm going to say it again, but just like getting out the door some days is like all it really takes. Even if you don't end up doing what you plan to do, it's just like, just go outside, get the fresh air, even if you're just going for a walk. I think that helps to stay kind of in the game, and keep you sane sort of mentally. And, yeah,
it's just therapeutic to move your body.
Right.
To get going.
Exactly.
To get out of that funk. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how do you balance your work and training and being a mom? And then I wanted you to talk a little bit about, do you think, we talked a little bit about this before, you would be a better athlete and do more things that can be at your level of who you think you can be as an athlete if you didn't have to be a mom and have your own career? Because some people are stay-at-home moms and don't have, or have the support where they can be training all the time. And Darcy doesn't necessarily have that. So it's actually amazing that she's doing what she's doing. And I guess what I'm asking is, do you think you could do more if you had more time?
Well, I think that's really interesting. I might miss the first part of your question, but
Yeah,
I'll
I'll
just
ask it
answer.
again.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll answer the second part,
Yeah.
because I think it kind of goes back to like not overtraining. So I think there's a blessing. It's sort of like a blessing and a curse, because I feel like having a child and a job and all of those things keeps me from overtraining. I don't overtrain. I don't log too many miles ever, really. I mean, if anything, I go into most races going, oh my God, if I finish, this is going to be a miracle. Like I don't log a lot of miles. And I think that's partly why I've had such a long career in the sport. I feel like a lot of people who get into specifically ultra running, they end up just burning out because they're trying to run too much. So that's part of it, I think, is, it's a blessing in so many ways. And yeah, I mean, I'm oftentimes towing the line with mostly women who run for a living and aren't moms and don't have full-time jobs. So it's really intimidating. And a lot of times I'm like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to be able to stand up to these women? And they're 20 years younger than I am now. So there's like a lot of things going against me now. But I guess the biggest thing I have is just a lot of experience. And and I think that's what's happened is, now the 100-mile distance is really my thing because it's so long and it's so much time to sort of get over the hurdles that happen in a 100-mile race. And I know in the back of my head that maybe, people who are just getting into it don't yet know that I can get through most things. I don't know if that makes sense, but like mentally I know I can come out of whatever hole I might be in.
You've been doing it for so long. So there's where like the mental piece comes in.
Exactly.
And then the muscle memory of, I've done this before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Well, that's a really good piece of wisdom to like kind of step back a little bit, even if you wouldn't want to. Mm-hmm. And the rest and the less is a lot of times more, especially when, I don't know, you're training for even big hikes or running.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if you've already said this, but maybe how do you balance work and play and training and just your life in general?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably like a lot of you and a lot of people out there. I try to keep a good, Google Calendar, a good schedule for myself. I mean, it's the only way to do it. It's the only way to maintain it. And I say this all the time, but I just squeeze in my workouts wherever I can, and wherever it fits into the schedule. When I take my daughter to swimming, I, try to get in a workout then. Sometimes I do 2-a-days if I'm not able to get something in early in the morning, or if I've only gotten just, a short little thing in the morning, I try to do something maybe while she's doing her swim practice at night. So, it's really just about, I do, yeah, there's a lot of time management that goes in there. Yep.
Really fitting in everything, taking advantage of all your time throughout the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this is kind of what we all want to hear about, or at least I do, about how you deal with pain. What is pain to you? What is when it gets tough? What does that look like for you personally? Because you said you could like run through pain that someone else might not be able to. So just what does that personally look like for you? And then what are your mental tricks to get through that?
Well, I mean, I think the experience has shown me, at least personally, that pain oftentimes is definitely connected with the mind. And so I've seen pain, go from my knee to my hip to my foot to my to my shoulder. It moves. It changes. It shifts, and it's kind of that, like, I have this mentality that, that everything passes eventually. And I'm also really in tune with, like, when there's pain that I shouldn't be running through. So it's not to say that if there's a real serious pain that I wouldn't stop, because I would. It doesn't happen often, but sometimes it's like getting through it sometimes is just about slowing down a little bit. Kind of taking like a body scan and trying to figure out how I'm taking care of myself in that moment, whether or not I need to eat or drink more, whether or not I need to, relax a certain part of my body, breathing into that spot, wherever it might be in my body. Those types of things are kind of tricks that I've learned over the years that help a lot. and sometimes it's just, again, it really does bring you into the present moment, though, I think, and sort of reminds you to constantly be taking care of yourself and thinking about that.
And this is true for every moment of our day, I think, don't you?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I don't feel good. I need to check in.
Right.
And doing those things that you just said are really helpful. And before I forget, Darcy started doing these little nuggets of wisdom on your Instagram.
Oh, yeah. I just started it.
It's awesome. So if you want to follow her on Instagram, what is your Instagram handle?
Oh, it's just it's my first name Darcy, and then just PQ at Darcy. Is it at Darcy PQ? Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun. I like to follow you on
Wednesday
Instagram.
Wisdom is the
Okay, Darcy, so she was on our podcast before we did fastest known time. We had a group of people come on, and they do these amazing things. And so Darcy did the John Muir Trail, the fastest known time. Could you tell us a little bit about what the John Muir Trail entailed? How long was it? And it was the longest run you've ever done, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So I got fastest known time of the year last year.
Nice.
Yeah. So the John Muir Trail, I don't have any of you been there? Or the Sierra Nevada, if you haven't been and you love hiking, I highly recommend going there and checking it out. The John Muir Trail in particular is probably one of the most beautiful trails I've ever been on. It's 222 miles of uninterrupted single track. So you start at the Mount Whitney Portal trailhead. And the actual trail doesn't start until you reach the summit of Mount Whitney. So that's why it's 211 miles, but it's 11 miles to get to the top of Mount Whitney. And so I just factored that into the whole entire route. But you start at the Whitney Portal trailhead, you climb Mount Whitney. The John Muir Trail starts at the top of Mount Whitney and runs all the way to Yosemite Valley. And you do not cross a road once. So it's I don't know if there's anything out there quite like it. It's just stunningly beautiful, granite peaks. It coincides at points with the Pacific Crest Trail as well. And it was one of the most amazing experiences I've had just out on the trails. And it's not like I'm not running the whole thing, just to put that out there. A lot of it is just hiking uphill, and I would say more like jogging the downhills. And so but it was 3.5 straight days of kind of going for me. And I had friends that met me out along the trail and gave me food and resupplied me and all of that kind of stuff, and set up a sleeping bag so I could take little cat naps.
How did that change your perspective just about length of being out in the outdoors on your own, and just your perspective in running and in life? Is there anything in particular that happened out there?
Oh gosh, I mean, a lot of things happened out there. I mean, I just kind of become one. I feel like I became one with nature, and just rising and falling with the days, and watching the sun rise and set every day was pretty amazing. And the longest I had ever run before that was 120 miles. So I kind of went into it not thinking, I have no idea if I can finish this. It was double what I had ever done before. So the lesson, I think, is you can do way more than you think you can.
You also told me, someone told you once, I don't remember who, that when you go out there and do something, you don't have an option. You put in your head, I don't have an option. I'm finishing
of
this.
quitting. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's helpful.
Yeah. Well, someone long ago said, I don't drop out of a race unless a medical staff is pulling me out. And I don't, that doesn't work for everyone. I know that. But I think the reason I have only had 2 races where I didn't finish in my whole career. So I think that's because I oftentimes just don't give myself an option to stop. I'm like, I chose to do this. I might as well finish it. So kind of my mentality.
It keeps you going. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you have anything else to say about how what you do in the outdoors, stuff like the John Muir Trail, or just being on these long, hard races has helped you in your life? Getting through tough times in your life.
Yeah. Well, my running has carried me through a lot of hard times in my own life. So there's that. And I think so much of what I learn when I'm out there for these long periods of time is just about how it's such, everything I do out there is like a metaphor for everything in life. It's like there's ups and downs, and you have low points and you have high points, and everything eventually passes. Everything eventually, I think we were talking about this, it eventually comes to an end. So, yeah.
Does anyone have any questions for Darcy?
I'm Kari from Boulder Hiker Chicks. What are your goals looking forward? Are you more interested in the racing or into the stuff like the John Muir Trail and doing the fastest known time and kind of being outside for these prolonged period of time, hiking and running?
Well, this year in particular, I'm going to focus again more. This last year, I did more races than I did any kind of FKTs again. And this year, I'll probably do the same. So more races, I guess, in general. I got into my favorite race is the Hard Rock 100 in Silverton, Colorado. And so that I will go back to that race again this year. And then I want to try and get into a race in France called the Tour de Géants, which is a big mountain climbing type race. And so, yeah.
So will be Courtney DeWalter, you?
At Hard Rock.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. That is going to be a big race, everybody. Kate King with Go Far Shop.
So Darcy, I like asking this type of question to anyone. Who or what inspires you to go far daily?
That's a great question. God.
I know what I think you're going to say.
Oh, you do? Can you answer for me? Gosh, there really is no who. It's me. It comes from within, for sure. For me, it does. And I think it's evolved, and now, there are definitely, like, always my daughter is in the back of my mind, and she's always sort of the inspiration and the motivation for me a lot of times. So it's shifted. Yeah.
We've got Becky with Bobo Bars.
So a huge aspect of these long distance races is properly fueling. Do you have a go-to when you're out on the trail?
It's complicated because it's different for everyone, as you know, and everyone has special needs. And I think that is probably one of the trickier things in running, like hundreds in particular, is diet and how to fuel properly. And so much of it is hydration. I have been working with this company, First Endurance, for a long, long time, and they make electrolyte drink, and they also make a recovery drink. So I hydrate by having, part EFS, their electrolyte drink, and water, very diluted. So I know I have electrolyte always in my hydration system. And then in hundreds in particular, I try to do more whole foods early on. And I try to stay away from too sugary of foods. No offense to any, goos or anything like that. But I don't really do any kind of goo or those types of things anymore. I did when I first started, but I don't anymore. I try to stick with really whole foods and real foods. Yeah. And then when the appetite goes, I might, if I need some kind of instant fueling, I might use a goo, but they tend to really tear up my stomach.
So when you're saying
of
whole
trial
foods,
and error.
I'm wondering what's the whole. Are you guys wondering too? What's the whole?
What's
like a tortilla in your pocket?
Yeah,
or what?
I have no, it is.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I like a tortilla in my pocket.
Tortillas
Yeah.
with avocado and some salt. So there's good fat, salt.
Maybe a bobo bar every
tortilla.
once in a while.
I do a lot of bobo bars, actually. Honey stinger. I do a lot of waffles. I do honey stinger chews quite often. I just will have them in my mouth, and it's just something nice to suck on for a while. And yeah, but I can also do anything and everything. I can do pretzels and chips, and I love Coca-Cola when I'm running.
Flat or not flat?
No, I like the
Carbonated?
carbonation.
Okay.
Yep.
Hi, this is Sara Groem from Open Door Real Estate. I had a question just about how do you get your daughter involved in this aspect of your life? I mean, you're a great role model for her by doing this, but I was just wondering if there's anything special that you guys do together.
She hasn't really shown much interest in running until kind of like the last year, I would say. So I would never push running on her. She's a swimmer. That's her sport. She skis and does a couple other things. But we do hike a lot together. So more importantly for me is just getting her out into the outdoors. So I backpack with her sometimes. We just sort of started doing that this last summer because she's getting older, and I bought her like her own like official backpack that she can go with. I still have to carry a lot of the weight. But and she comes with me to a lot of races. So she's been around it since she was a baby.
Remind us how old she is?
She's 10 now.
10 now. And we should mention Sara has a 1.5-year-old.
Oh, nice. Carry that, always carried her around with me, hiked with her all the time. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Terry, and new to Colorado, but not new to public lands. So my question is, we all couldn't do any of this without public lands, and so curious what your thoughts are and if you have any organizations that you support.
Well, I support all the organizations. People like Protect Our Winters. I know that, they've been working some with Smartwool, and Smartwool's a sponsor of mine. But nothing like in particular, no. But yeah, I agree. And none of this would be possible without that.
I was going to mention Kate King is involved in a local effort.
Mention it briefly. I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Indian Peaks Traverse. So it technically can be done now. It's a 60-plus mile trip from Boulder to Winter Park, but a lot of it's on road, and a lot of it can be illegal trails, so which is a no-no. So I'm VP on the board of this coalition to help make multi-use trail from Boulder to Winter Park. So check us out on Facebook, social media, Instagram.
Boulder Hiker Chicks trek to Winter Park, huh?
Yeah. 60 miles.
Do you want to come? And we've got Marissa with Women's Wilderness.
Darcy, thanks for being here. Clearly, as an Outward Bound instructor, you spent a lot of time outside. I'm curious how your relationship with wilderness influences what you are able to do now as a runner.
I think, working those courses, it was like the first time where I really recognized that being out in the wild and being in nature was sort of where I felt most connected to myself. And, that was definitely the start and the drive for me right from the beginning.
This is Kari again. So how much you're talking about being excited about going to do this race in France, like how much of this is about exploring for you?
A lot of it. Yeah, I mean, a lot of what has driven my decisions and what races I choose is about what trails I want to go see. So I definitely seek out trails that I want to go check out. Like I did the Y-Wash circuit in Peru 2 years ago because I wanted to go see it. And it was like an 85-mile circuit in the Peruvian or the Cordillera Alps, and it was unbelievable.
Awesome. I think that's something that a lot of us can relate to.
Yeah,
also.
Right. So yeah, I definitely seek out the races of like the trails that I'm like, I want to go. Like this Tour de Géants is in the Aosta Valley, and I've heard it's just unbelievable.
Marianne. Hi. Let's see, there's the saying, it takes a village. So in order to do all of these things, I assume that there's a crew or family or others who are helping you manage your day, get to these places, pack the food. So can you explain some of how that works?
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So a race would be different than doing something like an FKT effort. So those two are very different, and the FKTs required more people and more time and energy and all of that kind of stuff. So there were people like hiking in and meeting me, and that was a lot more logistically challenging, and they were just a group of friends that came together, and it was really amazing. And but I typically in races I try to be really minimal, and again, I don't use pacers very often, so I'll have maybe 1 or 2 crew members, so people that meet me in the aid stations. The races have their own aid stations usually, and then I'll have maybe 1 or 2 crew members that will help with food and refueling my packs and stuff like that.
What about in general in life, too? You take on a lot. How do you have extra arms that you wear
I don't. It's hard. And a lot of days it's just exhausting and hard and lonely and all of those things for sure. You know, luckily my daughter's dad is not too far away and he's nearby. So, you know, we obviously share custody of her, and we don't have family in town. So, you know, sometimes we rely on babysitters, like I'm sure a lot of you guys. You know, it's just friends, community. I've been here for a long time, so have a lot of close friends here too as well.
So to end this, Darcy, can you just tell us a little bit more about your business for people who are having their own pity party and need you? Need your amazing way to get through things, and what you're sort of moving into, because you're sort of shifting a little bit in your practice.
Yeah. So what I didn't talk too much about is like my own personal mindfulness practice and meditation practice that I have on a daily basis. And I oftentimes, most of the clients that I work with, I do try and bring that in. Mindfulness and meditation in my practice. And again, you know, I'm working more and more now with athletes, not like professional athletes, but just athletes of all kinds, who might be struggling with, it could be anything, depression, anxiety, performance anxiety, whatever it might be, family struggles, those types of things, and bringing in mindfulness and meditation into my practice now quite a lot.
And how would someone get a hold of you? And do you do Skype for those listeners out here that are not in Boulder?
Yeah. So email probably is the best way, darcypq@gmail.com. And then I have darcypiceu.net, PICEU.net, and that's my website. So
okay, awesome.
Those are the best ways.
Thank you so much for coming, Darcy. It was
Thank
really
you
nice
for
to
having
hear
me.
from you.